The 560S, the 600, the 650, the 660S, and the 800 are all Sennheiser models that you all know and love. But if you had joined the hobby around the last 5 years or so, you probably wouldn't have even realized that there was one model that no one really talks about anymore. This, my friend, is the HD700, the Sennheiser that everyone forgot. Let's talk about it. Before we begin, disclaimers, watch this video, let's move on, shall we? And the sponsor for this video shall be Headphones.com. Yes, this is an ad read. Headphones.com is the premier online audio retailer for those of you residing in the continental United States as well as Canada. Pick and choose from a wide range of enthusiast level products ranging from DACs, amps, IEMs, and of course, headphones. And to sweeten the deal, Headphones.com also has an unprecedented 365-day return policy, so if you want to, you could also just use them to try out some headphones that you otherwise wouldn't be able to try. There is still a restocking fee, but it's so much better than having to sell your regrets at a loss, right? Go to Headphones.com, tell them I sent you, and of course support the people who support me. As I mentioned, yes, this is the HD700, and it is a headphone that I've been searching for no joke, the last 3 years. For context, I travel to Japan quite often and I bought these used at E-Earphone. E-Earphone is one of the biggest headphone shop in Japan and they have a wide variety of used items and they have a whole dedicated floor just for used items. I got these really cheap. How cheap? Well, $300, but with the caveat that the headband was broken. So I went over to my buddies at Sennheiser and asked them, hey, maybe you could provide me with some components to repair the headband. And they did. The last one. So they gave me the very last headband that they had in their warehouse, and therefore now it is almost new-ish. It's not. It's really not. Anyways, context of how I got this out of the way. Let's just talk about the HD700. It retailed back in 2012 for $1,000 US. This was just 3 years after the HD800 and it was touted as kind of the baby HD800. But you have to understand that back in 2012, the headphones market isn't quite the same as what we have today. For one thing, kilowatt headphones aren't a common occurrence. So when Sennheiser came out with another $1,000 headphone, it was heavily scrutinized. When it comes to the design and aesthetic of the HD700, I can tell you honestly that this is probably one of my favorite looking Sennheiser headphones. It clearly takes design cues from the HD800 and looks very different from the HD600 series as well as the 500 series. It looks cool as all hell and I just wish that Sennheiser would continue with this kind of design language for its higher end models or even just its mid-range 600-ish models. And on top of that, do you know who designed the HD700? Axel motherfucking Grell. You know Axel, the guy who designed the HD600, 650 and the 800? That Axel? With such a pedigree, you would think that there is absolutely no way that the HD700 would ever fail. Right? This is Sennheiser that we're talking about here. They have branding power stronger than almost every other audiophile brand on the planet. How did this, the HD700, such a significant number, get simply lost to time? Well, simply put, the HD700 is not a great sounding headphone. When you look for impressions on the HD700 on all those old forum threads, you would see that there's one common trend. The treble. Make no mistake, the HD700 is a spicy boy, and that's kind of understating it. It is very sharp. Assuming that you're not reading a show review, there is no way you can read an impression of the HD700 without mentioning that monstrous peaking 6K. That is the biggest weakness of the HD700. They have taken the biggest weakness of the HD800 and then, for whatever reason, amplified it even more. And to a certain extent, that was the death knell for the HD700. No one really could like it as much. It was a very divisive, controversial headphone for the time. And even till today, it's so controversial that no one even remembers it anymore. With that said, if I had something good to say about the HD700, is that it kind of emulates the HD800 in terms of its soundstage width. It was very resolving, very detailed, and again, very wide sounding. It's just that all of these technical superiorities are simply overshadowed by the fact that its tuning was so unenjoyable, I guess. And at some point, Sennheiser also saw the writing on the wall. In 2016, they had discounted this $1,000 headphone at half price. It was not unusual for you to see the HD700 being sold for about $500 online, and authorized dealers were even allowed to sell them at $429. And I'm pretty sure these discounts were for the fact that they were trying to clear all the stock because it was discontinued. And here's the kicker: because of my failing memory, I don't actually know when the HD700 got discontinued. So when I looked online, that's when I realized that no one actually knows when the HD700 got discontinued, because when it actually was discontinued, no one gave a shit. And so there it was. The HD700 just died with zero fanfare, no funeral whatsoever. People simply just forgot. That said, its legacy continues in what is one of Sennheiser's most popular headphones, the HD660S. I'm not sure how valid this is, but there are claims that the HD700 driver is now being used, in its modified state at least, in the current HD660S, which in my opinion goes in slightly the opposite direction of the HD700, in that I feel like it has too little treble energy, but that's a topic for a different time. And so there we have it, one more to complete my collection, the very much forgotten HD700. If you want to try it out, you can now try it out at the Hangout. We're located at 29B Mosque Street, level 3 in Chinatown. Come on by, have a coffee, and test out what is one of the rarest Sennheiser headphones that you can find today. And per usual, for those of you who have subscribed to the $20 tier on my Patreon, here are all of your beautiful names. And for those of you on my $30 tier, allow me to speak out your beautiful names: Dennis McMadface, crinacle, Andrew Posichronic like Pizza, Seraphim, Chemotherapy, and Daryl. I thank you all. At this point, I just want to talk about what's interesting to me, even though at this point, I know none of you can buy this, even if you want to. But that's it. See you next week. And don't die. Fuck off.